Good evening. It's 5 o'clock in Tennessee now. We just hit daylight savings time this past Sunday, so we're gonna have a little bit more daylight outside. Today I want to talk about terrains. Now you might know terrains as a physical concept. Uh, Trails, mountains, um, maybe the desert. You know, you could have been familiar with a culture that was surrounded by hot temperatures and desert like conditions. Maybe you've had experienced a torrential storm, thunderstorms. I use storms as a terrain, but you can also use them as weather implementations. Um, and as we dive deep into them a little bit, see them more than just a physical concept, okay? See them more than just words on a piece of paper, okay? Very seldom do our words only mean what is at surface level understanding, okay? To really understand how you communicate or how other people communicate with you, you have to dive deeper in the word, okay? How about the ocean? The ocean um, is considered a vast space of water, right? And you have your boats out there, you have fishing boats, you have aquatic marine life. But what if I said, very much like the tides, high tides and low tides of the ocean, it's very similar to how we perceive things, in which vibrational frequency we are in as we are perceiving through the lens of which we are observing. How about fog? Uh, People often say that they have a brain fog or something's unclear. The fog there represents sometimes when we experience something, we don't really acknowledge all that is in the experience, just what we typically end up zooming in on. Okay, and we often, like the fog, become blinded to everything else in that moment. Okay. Um, I I'm titling this Traversing Terrains because even if you sat still, you will experience each one of these, actually. Um, Even if you had no family around you, had no strangers around you, had no people to interact with, animals keep their distance, etc., you still navigate and traverse terrains. Okay, let's dive into the mountain. All right, mountain is something that you've already are aware of that needs to change, but fear holds you back, or doubt, insecurity holds you back from progressing forward. Okay, and this mountain can come in many different forms, shapes, sizes, you name it. It's a block in our path, but we can't go around the mountain. And often, unless you have a proverbial dynamite, you can't really blast through the mountain. But instead, you have to ascend the mountain. Okay? Growing up, I often heard the question, why do people climb mountains? And for someone that might not have a more expansive consciousness of tapping into that understanding, You might chalk it up to because it's there, you know? Being very simple. Why not? Right? You see, a mountain is formed from our limiting beliefs. Beliefs we adopt from other people, uh, vibrational DNA, cellular components of belief systems that have been passed down through family, social circles, the education field, the work field, people that you come in contact with on a random basis. Now, understand there is nothing ever random. And even if you were to use the word coincidence, we often use the word synchronistic or synchronizes with. Limiting beliefs are just what they are. Limiting, it's a limitation imposed on progress. Okay? And you often hold that belief, and then something in your experience comes in and reinforces that belief that you have to make it a living truth. The universe has no say whether you receive this or you receive that. It's what you are vibrating at. It's what you are emitting from you that you attract into your experiences. Okay? And then whatever lens of observation that you are observing it through is you rendering meaning to the experience. No experience has meaning until you render it. Plain and simple. Um, Stuck patterns of behaviors. Uh, Familiarity. Notice if you break apart the word familiarity, it comes back to a familial, or in English, family, family like. Now it now I said in a couple other videos that family isn't just blood related. Family is who you invite into your tree, your living tree, you, your space, your domain. Um, in the canopy of the tree, you have leaves and branches. Some of those leaves, some of those branches aren't doing well. Okay? And what do you have to do? You end up having to either cut the branch off or snip the leaves away. Right? Um, that obstacle will never be moved by someone else. The only one responsible for moving that mountain that stands in your way is you. You can bring your concern to someone else. You can say, hey, this monumental thing in my life I feel is blocking my progress. Okay? And you might get some advice and guidance. You may have a pretty good coach out there that actually teaches you to find the tools and resources to come up with your own answer to the big mountain that you face. Okay? That obstacle is meant to be there. Um, Maybe it's a lesson that has yet to be learned for you, or an unresolved pattern that you have adopted but is not your own energy, but rather you've adopted that energy of someone else. Okay? This is where you have to examine yourself. You could do a mental scan of your body, and you can tune into it just like a radio station. You can tune into your body, and as you are scanning with your awareness through your body, you can become aware if there is an imbalance or uh, something that doesn't feel right, you know? And you could tell doctors all day long, and unless they have the instruments to be able to locate whatever the ailment might be, you might have a case where they can't tell you what it is, but they're playing um, darts, throwing darts at a wall, seeing what sticks. You know, that mountain you have to face. Um, whether it's an addiction to something, whether it's a lifestyle behavior, whether it's your attitude to how you see life as. And as you progress further and further, scaling up that mountain, you gain more clarity and courage and strength that empowers you to progress forward. Okay? It doesn't matter if anybody else agrees with you. They're not in your body. They're not walking your path for you. And you have used your body to walk the path for other people based on the energy they have provided you as a gift. Okay? You might have some of that in your mountain. um, but you are not powerless. You are not alone. And it's going to take a good amount of courage to face your mountain. Okay? And the deeper those limiting beliefs are rooted, the more challenging it can become. But I promise you that as you scale that mountain, you are changing as you are elevating up that mountain. Okay? And then that mountain is going to look like a speed bump once you get to that point. As you reach the summit of that mountain, you gain a different point of view, a different perspective that you see outward than as you were climbing the mountain. Same thing within yourself. Everything out there is a reflection of what you hold within you. The mountain that you hold within you, you project into your environment, and your environment reflects that back to you as your personal truth. When you say, I need help, or you say, I can't do this on my own, I'm lost, I'm here but I want to be over there, you have exclaimed to the universe that you are seeking guidance. And the universe is going to give you inspired information in alignment with inspired action. Okay? And you might have to be like an onion and strip layers. Okay? But that mountain, as you reach that summit, it fortifies and equips you to continue on in life's pursuit, to transform your pain points into purpose. No one else can transform your pain into a purpose but you, because it comes through you. The real you that has been hidden, pushed aside because it wasn't either loved in the right capacity, wasn't received or accepted, um, might have been silenced too often. It's been trying to get back to the surface, but it's got a mountain in its way, and it needs your help to unearth it. So you can work in tangent, in alignment with your true self, or you can be at the polarity of opposite of your true self and continue experiencing unwell like experiences, whether it's through your body or it's through other people. Once you recognize your mountain, you begin your journey to discover your true identity again. Hmm. How about the desert? Some of you probably were born in desert-like region. Uh, Arizona, Mexico, New Mexico, Nevada. The desert is your life journey in which you are discovering your unique self without the implication or opinion of other people of telling you who you are or what you are or imposing limitations on you, telling you to live within your limits, within your means. But what are those means? What meanings have you rendered? The life journey you experience often can feel alone. It can feel like you're separate, but you've never been separated. And you've never really been alone. But we rely heavily on what we can deduce from our physical components, what we see, what we smell, what we taste, what we hear. But the desert isn't there to harm you. The desert is there to bring you back into your path. But a lot of times we don't want to push through that resistance. And when the ego feels like a change is stirring within you, the winds of change, it's going to try to bring you back into what's called familiarity because it doesn't feel uncomfortable, because you become so used to that lifestyle that that's your comfort zone, even if it's non-healthy for you. The desert is symbolic for purging, releasing, okay, emptying yourself. Uh, you can treat the desert as a fast where you fast for a certain amount of days. You are releasing the attachments to the things that no longer serve you, that are no longer of a benefit for you or conducive to your well being. Your higher self, in your emptying in this process, becomes reinforced. Okay? You become reconnected with. You also enter into what's called higher vibrational living. As you strip away the attachments, the things that you have rendered a less than value of meaning towards, whether you thought it, whether you felt it, whether you spoke it. As you're releasing, you're elevating your vibrational frequency, your still point, and then elevate it. Sometimes we get to the still point and we sink in lower vibration. Lower vibration is also equivalent to non living healthy energy, stagnant energy, trapped energy, stale energy, uh, expired. It no longer serves a purpose, but it's occupying space. And in that space, we want to remove or release, fast it away, to bring in new living energy, new high vibrational energy, and become that new subset of your still point. But then you have something that you might face called a storm. Storms can come in as a light rain, slight drizzle, trickles in until it builds momentum. Storms, when they come into your purview, they've already been building up the energy before it comes to your location. Okay? You can do everything to please any person, to meet or exceed those expectations. And as you meet and exceed those expectations, trying to please that person, that satisfaction only becomes temporarily until the next thing that they focus their awareness on becomes brought into the thing. The storm that you might experience is breaking away from the paradigm of what people think you are an identity of. They might see your physical body. You can change your physical body. You can change what you wear. You can change how you talk. Spend more time out in the sun, you might get a little darker. Stay a hermit, you might be pale. But a storm can also be used as a positive thing. When you are holding on to that energetic debris and afraid to let go so that greater can come in, you might have a storm come in and try to clear away the debris. Rising tides. But often in our storm, when we're trying to please other people, we end up self-neglecting our own care. And you're no good to someone else if you're not at your optimal performance. Sometimes you need to take that break. Whether you are a W-2 employee at a retail location, whether you are in a corporate setting, whether you are a salary, it doesn't matter. Take your break. You need to take your break because you are compounding stress of the day into your storm that you have within you. And then that energy that you are absorbing is adding to those thoughts that you are having, those emotions that you are feeling or sensing. And you're going to produce out of you a less than loving manner of communication to someone that may not be deserving of it, but just because they were in your purview. Or they might reflect something that you are holding within you that you are not aware of. But we often want to fight with one another. We want to argue validity, but we're still stuck at the surface. We're still stuck at the surface of things that we don't know how to make sense of. So we're just going to explain it away. We're going to use logic, reasoning, critical thinking, deductive understanding, and try to explain it away. And if it doesn't explain it away, then it becomes incomprehensible. It's in the incomprehensible that you actually grow to comprehend that which is more than surface level understanding. That's where the storm will come in at. If you ask for guidance or if you ask for clarity, see the storm in your lives as a way of clearing away what is distracting you from reaching your higher potential. Okay? All storms that come in your life is for your highest good. Understand that, and you might hear other coaches out there speak it, but understand, life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you because you vibrate a certain way. And as you are vibrating, you are speaking the language of the universe that speaks in vibration. drawing that experience, more of that experience into your life. But I don't want to change. I don't want to. I don't want to switch what I think. I don't want to switch what I feel. Then you're going to continue experiencing. You're going to continue experiencing. And you're going to keep fighting with other people because they're reflecting it back to you in the moment. But we often dismiss it as a human being mean to us, or a human being irrational or unkind to us. But just as you have mirror neurons that are reflecting to other people what they hold within themselves, they're doing the same thing. And if you are in a vibrational frequency of misalignment, you may misunderstand the communication that is occurring in the moment. Doesn't mean that what is spoken has no validity. Doesn't mean what is spoken has no concern, or that it doesn't have great importance on the person speaking it. But we often don't give our voices and our words the attention that they actually deserve because of how powerful they are when they come out of us. When you speak a word, you can't take it back. When ears register what you say, you can't take it back. They can't unlearn what you have spoken. So which way do you want to show up in the world? Do you want to show up in a world that's very critical and assign value of criticality? Because as the energy you emit out, you're going to experience it back. And people can say that you're like this great person, that every time they're around you, you're always smiling, always life of the party. But that's usually a social mask that you end up carrying that hides the true identity within you. The storm is there to help rise your identity to the surface. And people might have come close to the grips of an identity that they have become familiar with you as, but as you are growing, you are changing aspects of your identity, and people are losing grip of that identity that they have formed a value of you as. Yeah. So you might not see somebody for 10, 15 years, and you see them, and the last time that they saw you is the last image that is going to pop in their head, because they have not been with you as you transformed in your life pursuit. So they're going to probably call up the last conversation they had with you in probably a less than ideal or negative vibration, depending on how that conversation occurred. And that might be the last image of identity that they've seen you as. So when you see them 15 years later, they might pick up that old identity and perceive you as. Maintain your vibration. When you lose ground or you give your energy away, your vibration sinks. Another term might be called shut down. You might have a glowing face, but in about 3 seconds, someone can say one word and your face shuts down. Because you've resonated to something that was spoken in that moment that came off not as a loving manner, but more as a accusatory judgment. But as you put your hands up, you're not ignoring the conversation. You're blocking the energy from absorbing that energy and becoming your new set point. of a negative mindset or a victim mindset. Storms transform your life. They transform you from what you were to whom your future image of you is. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the unfolding. And as you hear this, you will probably register an aha moment when something came in your life and rattled you, whether it was through a storm, whether a mountain appeared, whether you felt you were in a desert of loneliness. Each aspect has the functionality of both positive and negative embedded in the same moment of the present experience. Everything happens in the present moment. Before, back there, what has already happened is already happened. It's no longer present until you bring it into the present moment. And if you're not careful, that present moment that you grab from your historical file cabinet gets projected into your experience and flows back in to your now present moment, reinforcing your belief as a living truth. Not only is it a transformational storm, the storm will also strengthen you in your resolve. And when I say resolve, you are only resolving the energy that you are responsible for. You're not changing someone else. You're not responsible for someone else's energy. You're only responsible for what energy you put out and as it comes back. In whatever manner, form, or person, place, thing, idea, television screen, news media, however it comes back in, it's going to come back in. And if it's an unresolved area that you were meant to learn a lesson through, you're going to repeat that lesson until you grow through the dirt and emerge. How about the ocean? People think ocean, beach, sand, sunny day, comfortable temperature, water's nice and comfortable. But they often forget that the ocean has low tides and high tides. The low tides is your low vibrational energy. Okay? Though effective, it's low vibrational. High tide is high vibrational. That's where you tap into more of your inner than your outer. The ocean is a representation of your emotions, what you are feeling, okay? What you are sensing. It doesn't mean that what you are sensing is right or wrong. It doesn't mean it's bad or good. It's what you sense. And then you have a determination of how you are sensing that, if you want more of that or less of that in your life experience. How do you do that? You rewrite the story of the experience. Rewrite the energy that you have rendered the value in the experience of. As you elevate your emotions and the sensory output of the subtle field, you become more in tune with your vibrational alignment and where you're resonating at. Can't always stay in bliss. You would never grow. You would never learn through your lessons that you originally came here to do and become the person that you dedicated to become. This world is saturated with information, but the information is only surface level. You actually have to do your due diligence and dive into the information to get a deeper understanding in order to go higher in awareness. It doesn't matter if you grow up in a family that doesn't see the same way. You had a means of coming to here. And at that moment in time, you resonated in a vibratory way that allowed access to occur to form what you now have a flesh body of. That flesh body is your vehicle, your vessel, of which you traverse the terrains of life in. And it's intelligent. It's multi-bodied. It's emotional faculty. It's a psychological factor. It's physiological. And everything you do with it. Every grievance that you have ever extended to somebody, whether it's a less than ideal judgmental way, comes back into your life. Every high vibrational energy output that you have given does the same thing. Which one would you like to lean into to receive more in your life of? That's the question right there. Do I want less of this and more of this? Or do I want less of this and more of this? And that becomes your scales. That's your balance. Your inner balance and stillness, the ebb and flow of the ocean's tides, it's your emotions flowing. It's flowing through you and emitting into your environment. And anyone that you invite into your environment, your space, your energetic field, will feel some resonance to that which you hold within yourself. And they may pick up on that and draw it up through themselves and produce it in words for you to receive. So you may determine whether that's something that you feel you are more than enough to endure and scale that mountain of, or change the flow, change the narrative. We often live stories. We live old paradigms, old stories that have either been told to us or passed down that we might have picked up along the way as we have experienced life. But some of the stories that we hold within ourselves is embedded with energy that's not our own. And we started experiencing life based off those energies that we adopted. Because as a child, you're surrounded by your parents or family, and they're the ones that you can only look up to because you're a brand new baby in a new environment. So you're going to thrust all your trust towards that. And then whatever manner of which way they teach you in their experiences and their examples and the way that they show up in your life, you're going to absorb that energy like a black hole. And at some point, you're going to emit it back out. Maybe not to them, but it might be to somebody else. And so what you have done is you've absorbed the energy, transmuted the energy through your body, and emitted it to someone else. And now if that someone else decides they don't want the energy, or they put up their own block, that energy comes back to you. That gift that you unknowingly tried to give out remains with you. The ocean is your inner balance, your chi, okay? Chi flows through the meridians throughout your body, okay? And as it's flowing, when it comes to something, whether it's a mountain, a block, old limiting belief, a root system of something, it gets stopped and builds up. And if you ever seen a soda bottle shaken up and you try to twist off the cap, it explodes, right? Well, in your body, as you are building it up, kind of like a volcano also, you explode because you didn't put that energy somewhere else. And then that became your identity. That became how you show up in the world, how people receive you. Most of what people reflect back at you of how they receive you is because you give them the energy of how you see yourself, how you talk about yourself. If you talk down about yourself, even in a joking manner, you are literally you are placing a spell of words on yourself for your subconscious to pick up and emit out into your experience to reinforce that limiting belief as a living truth. I see it time and time and again. I can do the same thing. I can choose to see something in the way that someone else wants me to see it, or I can choose to take the blinders off and see it for the bigger picture that is actually occurring. But be careful, because you may not have the words to speak to fully describe what it is that you see. And some people are not ready to hear it. Some people don't want to hear it. Your job's not to convince them. Your job's not to persuade them to receive your input. Your job is to be aware of how you contribute to what you experience. As you change how you contribute in the world itself changes. How people used to receive you to how people receive you now is because of the changes that you have made within yourself up to that point. Fog. This is the transitional sense of clarity. This is where you take what you become aware of and you push it into higher dimension. Because the fog is around us, right? But above the fog, there's no fog. You have to push through the fog in higher awareness, higher dimension, to draw down the clarity into your current physical dimension. Your high conscious understanding or new light or enlightenment will unfold as you go through these terrains, as you are traversing these terrains in life. How it shows up, I can't tell you, because it's going to be unique for you. It's going to be unique to how every choice you have made, every decision you have rendered, every value you have assigned. It's going to be unique to you based in alignment to that of which you already have within you. Go out early morning when it calls for fog and see how far you can see through the fog. If the fog is heavy enough or dense enough, you end up not being able to see beyond a certain distance, right? But what if the fog was just a light fog? You could probably see beyond that, but still have a fuzzy clarity of it rather than a complete clear picture. That's often the engagements that you have in your life experiences, the people you interact with, the places that you visit, the friends that you keep around you. The fog is there so that you can rise above that which isn't known. We often think what we know to be no, but it's very, very little. As we think, we end up believing. So you could sit in a corner thinking about someone else, and you connect your soul thread to that person no matter how far away they are. And as you are thinking, you are producing energy down that soul thread to them. And if you're having an internal dialogue, and that internal dialogue is starting to shape in a lower vibrational state, and it hasn't come yet, you have opportunity time to transmute the story of energy that you have bear witness to. As you think it and you remain it, it comes in. Traversing life, we experience periods of seasons. Spring, summer, fall, winter, periods. Okay? 4 seasons. In spring, you have the buds coming out, right? New life. New life. And in that new life is starting to emerge, right? It's emerging out of its rest, preparing itself to be active in the growing season of summer. And as summer closes off, it goes into what's called a fall season, which is starting to close itself back up, right? This is when you end up releasing, right? You release. Come winter, you're like, thank you for a great year, a year of growth, a year of gratitude, a year of appreciation, a year of support, a year of encouragement, empowerment. Doesn't matter if the year came out that way. If you write the story that way, you experience the new story to come that way. It's that simple. Take a notebook or a journal. Write a story. Write a story as you are the main character and a supporting character. And imagine as if you are observing yourself as the main character, and yourself as the main character is observing you as a supporting character. And in that story, what do you want to happen? Who do you want to help support it? What scene is it in? What period of time is it in? What season? Write your story to the way you want it to unfold, not the way that someone has told you that your story should unfold. As you write your story, because as you write is as you live, as you experience. Your story has been written from your auto programming, from all the energy that you have absorbed from everybody else. And you have kept experiencing and experiencing and experiencing because of those old stories, those old limiting beliefs, narratives. But now you have the power, because you are now aware that you have the power to write your own story. Your words have power. When you pen them to paper, Your subconscious mind is recording as the internal witness and absorbing the energy that you are producing into your words. And your brain's going to fill the components, and new neurons are going to be firing. And they call it neuroplasticity, where you create new neurons, new neural connections, right? And the more and more that you think in that aspect of that, the stronger that neuron is, that neural pathway. So this is why they say repeat, because the more that you repeat, the more you tap into that new neural pathway. And as you tap into that new neural pathway, it becomes reinforced and strengthened and projected into your experience for you to experience life in a different light, the way that you desire to live life, rather than how others have tried to render you as a robot. Again, you're going to be no good to somebody else if you're unaware of who you are. If you're unaware of what power rests within you. Count it all up for joy. Celebrate. Celebrate your wins. Go out. Enjoy nature. As you celebrate your wins and you release authentic expression and emotion of the experience of that, it tells the universe, I'm vibrating in this expression and I'm wanting more of this. As you vibrate in a lower frequency and you are expressing emotionally in a lower vibrational frequency, you are still telling the universe, I want more of this. So which frequency do you want to be in? What do you want to experience more of? Everything you experience is not random. Not a single thing is random. If you ask the mathematical community, it's all calculable. If you ask the metaphysical community, it's all causal, cause and effect. The cause, the thought process, the effect, the reaping of those thoughts. As you think, you create, right? As you resonate, as you feel, you attract it. And then if you imagine a scene playing out, you just built the momentum for that experience to come in faster than you ever experienced. Add some affirmations to it, strong, powerful affirmations to it, and you build more momentum. So before you realize it, you have a 31 flavor ice cream cone. Celebrate your wins. Enjoy them. Forgive the family that didn't see the potentiality of celebrating your milestones. If you have nobody to celebrate your milestones with you, you go out and celebrate your milestones, and whatever that looks like. Remember the intention to celebrate your wins. When you have not succeeded, you didn't fail. You found a path that did not work. That means you go back to the basics and discover a new path until you find the path that does work. And that is work done within you. That's how it works. um, you are always being prepared for your next level. You will know when you entered your next level because your next level is going to feel challenging because you're not familiar with it. You haven't learned the mapping of it. You haven't learned the dialogue of it. You haven't learned to navigate through it. It's brand new. It's unfamiliar. That's why it's going to be more challenging each time that you elevate in new level. But as you elevate new level and it's still going to have its challenge, you're going to have a mindset that is able to solve it in a more simpler understanding that allows you to rise above. Be cognizant of the people that you keep around you. Because as you have your own life traversing terrains, they have theirs. And they bring their storms, they bring their desert, they bring their mountains, they bring their fog, they bring their oceans. And now you have ocean and fog, you name it. And when neither one of them knows what's going on in the whole mix of it, it can be pretty explosive. But step back. Step back and reassess. You don't have to give an answer in the moment. If you feel pressured to do so, step back. Because the moment that you speak something, it doesn't matter if you didn't intend it for it to come out that way. Whatever you are vibrating and feeling and sensing and thinking in that moment as you emit that word, it's all embedded. So that person's receiving it is going to reflect in resonance of how they received it. Be mindful of how you present yourself. Be loving with your words. What does the word loving mean to you? What does the word compassionate mean to you? In my definition, how do I value compassion? I render a value of meaning to compassion, understanding that each one of you traverses your own life, and I know the difficulty in my own life, that I render compassion an understanding of how difficult it is for you in your life, how challenging it is in your life, what challenges pop up in your life. Exercising compassion does not mean that you agree with what the person is saying or expressing. It also doesn't mean that you are rejecting as their truth. Compassion means that you are willing to hear with your heart more than you are willing to hear with your ears. You are willing to see beyond more than what is being shown in the moment. And you are willing to use your words to elevate rather than to bring down. When you do that and you synchronize yourself in alignment to it, those challenges that come in will be easier to navigate. I'm not saying that they're not going to be challenging. They will be challenging in their own right based on who you are. Not what people said that you are. Based on who you authentically are. And if that challenge is meant for you, you will not be able to avoid that challenge. You will have to endure that challenge if you want to transform your life into a greater living pursuit, a greater purpose. Transform your pain points into purpose. See them in a higher capacity. What you are producing energetically into the world, in your house, on the phone, typing in some social media place, rendering value to what it is that you see or a question that might be arisen. As you participate in that game, you become cognizant of that game, which means then your blinders come on and you only see in that narrow pathway. Where someone else that has a different perspective that comes in and they see a different angle of that lens of which they are perceiving, because they have their own life, and the life that they have gone through, they have learned lessons through, they have had storms and traversing terrains of their own stuff. So they're going to see it differently than you might see it. That's what makes us unique. We don't all have to have the same perceptions, trust the same way, perceive the same way, believe the same way, feel the same way. You're not meant to feel as other people. You're meant to feel authentically. And if you don't like that feel, rise it up. Elevate it. Rewrite the narrative of that feeling. Journaling and affirmations is a very powerful tool. If you get out of your head long enough and just write it down, instead of analyzing everything that you write or speak, just write it down. It's literally that simple. As you are writing it down, you are releasing it out of you. You're no longer holding on to it. You become uncaged, no longer in the steel prison of your mind. But some of us are still in minds that are trapped. We still have roots that are deeply seated that are bearing unwellness. Lack, scarcity, insecurity, doubt, fears, victim mindset. If any of those resonated to you, that's probably because you have a root of that in you. But now you know where to direct energy to. And release it. It don't come back in until you pick it back up and bring it back in. But you might have residue. You might have leftover resin of that energy. With time, it will break apart. But you might still experience similar experiences, even though it's in a higher vibrational state. Which means that you have more growing within yourself to do. Be cognizant of the terrains that you are traveling. Sit out in nature. Observe some streams and some creeks. See how water flows. Water is closely related to your emotions. Okay? If water is met with a block, it will typically go around it, sometimes over it. Might dig underneath it, push some sedimentary, But after time, that the force of that water hitting that rock, that rock hasn't moved, it will break through that rock. Just like your mountain. You will ascend your mountain. Whatever is pivotal in your moment, whatever is pivotal in your life right now, that's standing in the way of giving your greater aspect of yourself and making yourself well. Our thoughts make us unwell. Our emotions make us unwell. Our words that we render of value towards other people, or even self-talk, how we talk about ourselves, renders us unwell because it carries an energetic vibration, and it vibrates that at a frequency telling yourself to experience it in whichever capacity you're going to experience it as. You have a natural body. Put natural in your body. When you put synthetic in the natural, you get imbalance. Put natural in. The more living energy or higher vibrational food and nutrition that you put into your body, the more your body vibrates in a higher capacity. And you might drop down into a lower frequency here and there, because like a wavelength, your energy is going like that. Okay? So you might drop down, but you're going to come back up. You might drop down, you're going to come back up. Why? Because not a damn thing in life is permanent. It's all temporary. That argument you had, that fight you had, that disagreement you had, that unkind person at the store that you ran into, that whatever it is, it's all temporary. But we sweat it so much that we allow our body to respond to the stimuli and release cortisol in our body for us to become stressed out. Take a breath. Reset your nervous system. As you breathe, assign your breath to perform a certain capacity for your well-being. As you drink a cup of water, program the water to work in your favor. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be understood. It don't have to make sense. In fact, the more that you lean into the things that don't make sense, the more you find yourself. Why? Because nobody else is you. You're you. That's the whole point about being unique. No one else can fill the role that you are meant to fill, to the capacity of which you fill it. If you're assigned something, and that's something that is a passion, and you want to reinforce it, you dedicate time, right? You practice it. Whether it's an instrument, doesn't matter what instrument, drums, guitar, piano, a stringed instrument, whichever you want to say that's your passion. You pick it up. Some people are naturally gifted and talented. Totally understand that. But if you're not one of those persons, but you have a passion for music, drive that passion into actionable steps. Spend about an hour a day practicing keyboard or practicing stringed instrument. Maybe you want to do vocals. Maybe you want to sing. Practice singing with your voice. As you cultivate a discipline of practice of the thing that you have passion about, you reshape and refine that passion into a purpose. The same thing you do from a pain point. You refashion it into a greater purpose. And the only way that happens is it by going through you and out of you. That's it. Simple, right? It can't be that simple. Yes, it is. It's just you have a brain that's used to overthinking, overanalyzing, finding the criticalness in it. But it's not there. I'm going to wrap this up in just a moment here. But one of the things that kept popping up was, okay, I hear brain and heart coherence, right? When you align your mind with your heart, right? You synchronize. So the desires that hold within your heart, and as you think of the desires that are within your heart, you are creating energy to be propelled into momentum to experience back in your life, right? So in my journey, I'm like, well, how do I connect these? How do I make them coherent? And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm rationalizing, I'm overthinking, right? And I didn't realize how simple it was because I couldn't get out of my head long enough to give it the value that it actually had. Instead, I thought it can't be that simple. It has to be tougher, because if it wasn't tougher, then how come nobody else is doing it? Because they weren't taught it. It's not something that's normally taught. So you rely on what is taught. But what if half that information that you were taught is only part true? You have to go into the information and dive deeper, right? When you have a hypothesis, you don't just make one test result of the hypothesis. You keep retesting it to see if the same results continue, or if a new result happens the amount of times that you test it, right? You got to do the same thing. What might work for you might not work for another person. What might work for me might not work for you. And that's completely okay, because you are unique. But as simple as placing your hand on your heart center, placing this hand on your mind space, you are literally connecting. That's simple. Yeah. Yeah, it's that simple. It doesn't require no thought, nothing. You just do. There's no try, you just do. But you can do the same thing with each of your chakras. You can connect. You have two hands. Most time you have two hands. To those that may have lost a limb, whatnot, I understand. But you can still use your imaginative power to imagine a hand there and placing it into the area and still make the connection. When you are clearing energy of your field, or you are releasing energy out of you, be mindful of where you are sending that energy at and how you are carrying that energy to come out. Are you just releasing it, or are you releasing it and asking it to be transmuted higher? Because all that you send out comes back, right? So if what I held no longer serves me, I'm going to send it out, and I'm going to inquire that it be transmuted into a higher vibrational state and greater serve someone else before it comes back in. Because all energy that is yours that you give out always comes back. You have the responsibility of how you use your energy, how you want to oscillate it. As you traverse, next one we will do, we'll talk about the sun, the trees, the waters, rocks, wind, rain, elementals. Okay? There's more to them than we actually give them credit to, because we're so focused on what we can see, what we can hear, what we can smell, and it constantly is communicating with us in our environment, but we're not we're not tuning into its message because we're not in this right frequency. As you elevate your vibration, you jump into the frequency of understanding that which has no words. It speaks in vibration, symbolism. Everything is interconnected. If you were to look at all the trees and how close they are, they're all interconnected. Each one of us is a living tree, interconnected to another person. And the people that we've never met, we're still connected to those persons through that other person. So as energy comes through that person and is emitted to that other person, we are also connected to that. So every vibe of energy that you send out your soul threads is connected. You've never been separated a single day in your life. It just might have looked like it. You have the strength to rise up. You have the strength to transform your own life. And how you do that is up to you. At first, people might not agree with you. At first, people might see it in a different light that they're familiar with. They're just rendering an opinion of what they perceive it as. It doesn't mean that yours is right or wrong. How you feel about it, how you resonate with it, and the state of being that you want to be in. If it's not in alignment, you have to change one of the components to bring it back into alignment. Okay? Navigating your terrains, understanding your mountains, understanding your deserts, understanding the fog that we typically have, where we don't see clearly beyond what is shown. When you practice more inner sight, you become more aware of sight that is not easily seen. And that's all I'm going to say, because I'm never going to say what I see. Because even if I were to tell what I see, it doesn't mean that it's going to render any value of great importance to anyone else. Because I don't want you to form an opinion or a belief to follow and expect the result to occur. Because it's not going to. You will experience a different experience, a unique one to you. So you will never hear what it is that I see from day to day. Most times I will keep it to myself in silence. Other times, if it feels troubling, I'll put it in a journal. My journals are journals that nobody else reads. Trust yourself. Trust that you have the power within yourself to rise above and elevate your vibration. Go work out. Go walk in nature. Go swim. Do something that elevates your vibration. Eat more nutritiously. Tai Chi, yoga, meditation. You'll thank me for it. I love you guys. Namaste. 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 Be well.